Today I'm going to show you how to use the ilumivu survey editor to create a survey. First, to get to the survey editor, you would go to the admin menu, click, and underneath it you'll see, among other options, survey editor. Click survey editor to go to the survey editor. When you first get to the survey editor, if you have not been already editing surveys, you'll see a page that looks like the one before you. To create a new survey, click the plus button. To select an existing survey, click the arrow in the selection box and you will see a list of surveys that have already been created. We're going to create a new survey. Once you've created a new survey, you'll see a text box or a set of text boxes that appears below the selector above here. Clicking the text box expands it so that it can be edited. You'll see, first of all, a numerical ID, which is the ID internally of the survey. In this case, it's 3000. You'll see next to that an editable code, which lets us refer to the survey by a code name, and it defaults to something that is simply SV, which stands for survey underscore and then the ID number. Next to that is the title of the survey. We'll call this My First Survey. If there's an introduction text or some other text describing the survey, you can enter it here. Once we're done defining our survey, we can go ahead and start to add forms. Now, surveys are structured in this way. There's a hierarchy that starts with the survey at the top or the bottom of the inverted tree. It's the largest container. Within that, we have forms. A form corresponds to a page in the survey. Next to that, we have sections. So each form may be broken down into sections. Each section then can have questions. Each question can have answers. And finally, each answer can have a conditional question that is asked if that answer was selected. So let's go ahead and add a form by clicking the plus button. The form is automatically created and given an ID number, an internal ID number, and it now appears below the entry for my survey. So we'll label this one My First Form, and we'll provide a brief introduction to the form. So now we have a survey and a form, and we're going to divide that form now into sections. Each form will have at least one, but can have as many as you like sections. To add a new section to the current form, we click the plus one more time. And now a section is created for us, and its text boxes appear below the selected section. By clicking it now, we see that the section has, in addition to its ID number, which in this case is 3002, it's the third entity that we've created, and that number is automatically generated. It has a value. The value is a number that's used for weighting when scoring the survey or scoring sections. We'll come back to that. Next to that, we have a referral code similar to the one that was created for the form or for the survey. A short tag, which is basically something that's a title or something that would be used in a report. A dependency, and we'll get back to that in a minute, but each section, question, and so on can have a qualification that determines whether or not it is shown. A set of icons that let me edit the section, and finally text describing the section. So let's label the section My First Section, and we'll provide a quick description. My first section of my first survey. Oh, no, of my first form of my first survey. And now we have a section. All right, within this section now we're going to start adding questions. Now you'll notice to the right of the box that is labeled depends on, we have 4 icons. A X mark, which is something that lets us delete this section. A question mark, which is what we use to add a question to the section. And then copy and cut icons. A clipboard for copy and a set of scissors for cut. We're going to add a new question to our section. Now, our question has been added. It's automatically selected for editing. You can see here now as we scroll up, we have my first form, my first section, and within my section now I have a question. So let's go ahead and create a question. We could do something simple as, how are you feeling today? We have a question, and we could give it a tag, feeling. And we could also give it a code, and we'll come back to codes and so on later. But now we have a question that's called, how are you feeling? Questions can have any number of types associated with them. In this case, we default to a single selection, which is I'm going to provide multiple choices and you're going to select one of them. So let's go ahead and do that. And we've defaulted to that, so the next thing to do is add some answers from which we can select. Next to the answer type, we see several icons. The delete icon, or the X. We can add an additional question that would be following this one. We have both copy and cut icons. And finally, we have the ability to add an answer. So we're going to have multiple choices. Let's add a choice. The first choice, again, we have the same kind of structure here with codes and tags. And finally, the thing that would appear in the actual survey, which is the question or the answer itself. So we'll say fine as our first one, and we can give that tag fine. We'll do another one after this. So we click the add answer icon, the light bulb, and this will add an answer right after the one we just created. And this one will be okay. We'll add another. Not so great, not so great. We'll add another. Really, really bad. So now we have a survey with a form and a section and our first question. How are you feeling today? With several answers from which we can select one. If I wanted to look at how this is going to appear as it shows up on a website, I could click the Show Preview, and I see what this is going to appear as someone would read it. So you see my first section, this is the section, how are you feeling today, and I have my selection of answers. If I wanted to go back and say, you know, I'd really like to add great, I can go up here and I can add, select the first question, I'll add another answer, which is going to be great. And I'll change its short tag as well to great. And let's say I really want great to appear before fine. Well, you'll see now that adjacent to the delete, add question, and add answer icons, I have two arrows, one that lets me move up and one that lets me move down. So let's go ahead and move the great answer to the one before the fine answer. Okay, I'll go back and preview it, and now I have my question with my answers in order. So I can go ahead now, and let's say I wanted to score this survey automatically. You'll see these values next to the ID numbers. So we've got our section, which is section, and the internal number is 3002. Our question is 3003. Our answers are 3008, 3004, 3005, 3006, and 3007. And let's say I want to associate a high score with great, so we'll say 5. I can just go through now and type whatever numerical scores I want to associate with each answer as it's selected. And this isn't a necessary thing, but it can be quite useful if you want to do some automated things with your survey. Now those values are there. If I said, you know, if someone feels really bad, I want to ask them an additional question. I can go ahead and select the question, or the answer rather, that says really bad, and you'll see a question mark adjacent to it as one of the things that I can add. Let's go ahead and add an additional question. So you see that the survey editor continually indents as we move down the hierarchy from the form down to the section, down to the question, the answers, and now to a conditional question. So this one is going to be a why question. We'll say why. Why are you feeling really bad or badly? And we can say, okay, this is not going to be a single selection, but instead what we really want is just some text entered here. So you'll see now here among the list of types of question is text entry. And in subsequent or conditional questions that come after an answer always default to text entry, but you can also select from other ones as well. So we'll make it a text entry. Okay, so now we've created our survey. We have our section, our question, our set of answers, and in the case of one answer being selected, an additional question that's going to be asked.